So we have one amendment, and we are awaiting very much, members. So confirmed by Member Robinson, seconded by Member Williams. Okay, so first we will review the projects for education. These are all human and social development projects. The projects are all implemented through the SDC unless otherwise said. So the implementing agency is the Social Development Commission unless otherwise said. So the first project is from Mr. Philip Paulwell, Kingston, Eastern Port Royal for $5 million. Second is from Juliet Cuthbert Finn. Her education assistance request is for $6 million, and her constituency is St. Andrew West Rural. Then Mr. Mark Golding for St. Andrew South for $5.5 million. Honorable Carl Samudo, his is for St. Andrew North Central for $5 million. Heroy Clark for $5.5 million, St. Catherine Central's education assistance. St. James Central, hold on, let me look back because I see St. Catherine somewhere. Oh, I'm reading two at the same time. Andrew Wheatley, St. Catherine. All right. So Heroy St. James Central. And Andrew Wheatley is St. Catherine South Central for $6.1 million. Mr. Hugh Graham for St. Catherine Northwestern, $7.5 million for education assistance. Morlon Wilson, $5 million for Westmoreland Western. Honorable Xavier Main, St. Anne Southwestern, $6 million. Honorable Mercer Dalrymple Philibert for South Trelawney, $5 million for education assistance. Robert Miller, $6 million for St. Catherine Southeastern. Mr. Julian Robinson, St. Andrew Southeastern, $5 million. Honorable Olivia Green, St. Catherine Central, $7,210,000. Mr. Lutheran Cousins, Clarendon Southwest, $8 million for education assistance. Juliet Holness, $5 million for SDC. education assistance, Dr. Maurice Guy, $5 million for St. Mary's Central. Honorable Edmund Bartlett, St. James East Central, $8 million. Mr. Daniel Lawrence, his education assistance for Westmoreland Eastern is $5 million. Mr. George Wright for Westmoreland Central, $9 million. Lester Michael Henry, $7 million for education assistance. Mr. Dave Brown, Hanover Eastern, $6 million for education assistance. Honorable Norman Dunn, $5 million for education assistance. Crystal Lee for St. Anne North, $6 million for education assistance. Dr. Honorable Christopher Tufton, $7.5 million for St. Catherine West education assistance. Lisa Hanna, $5 million for education assistance for St. Anne Southeast. Honorable Dr. Horace Chang, $6 million for St. James Northwest education. George Anthony Hilton, St. Andrew Western, $5 million for education support. Honorable Marlene Malahoo Ford, St. James West Central, $5 million. Okay. Tova Hamilton Trelawney Northern, $5 million. Tamika Davis, Hanover Western, $5 million. Natalie Nita Garvey, St. Catherine North Central, $6 million. Dr. the Honorable Nigel Clark, $6 million, St. Andrew Northwestern. Dr. Angela Brown Burke, St. Andrew Southwest, $5 million. Dr. Michelle Charles, St. Thomas Eastern, $6 million for education assistance. Dwight Siblis, Clarendon Northern, $5 million for education assistance. It's being spent through the Clarendon Municipal Corporation. Honorable J.C. Hutchinson, St. Elizabeth Northwest, $5 million through the St. Elizabeth Parish Council. Delroy Slowly, St. Elizabeth Northeastern, $5 million through the St. Elizabeth Municipal Parish Council. Robert Chin, $5 million through Manchester Municipal Corporation. Honorable Floyd Green, $6.5 million through the St. Elizabeth Municipal Corporation. I have two J.C. Hutchinson. Let me see what's the figure on this one. So for Mr. Honorable J.C. Hutchinson, you will see two projects, one for $5 million for education development and a feeding program of $2 million, which is allowed as the cap is $10 million in total for education. And just a general note for us to remember as members of Parliament, and hopefully for others not seated here to remember as well, there are some things that we are not allowed to be doing projects for. Every time we are doing these project documents, we should remember and not end up spending funds on things like Teachers' Day token of appreciation. There are things as members of parliament that we would be required, if we would like to engage in them, to get private donations or to find some private way of supporting. So, just to be minded. Next, on to disaster mitigation. Projects are Mr. Michael Phillips, Northwestern Manchester, $1 million, and it is for Manchester Northwestern water distribution. And for Angela Brownberg, St. Andrew Southwest, $3 million for disaster mitigation. And this is being spent through the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation. These are only 2 disaster mitigation projects. Admin assistance. Honorable Carl Samudo, St. Andrew North Central, $1.5 million being spent through the SDC. So his admin assistant is utilizing $1.5 million maximum for an admin assistant. Here you go. There you go. Honorable Desmond McKenzie through the SDC, all through the SDC as a matter of fact, admin assistants only through the SDC. The amount is $1.5 million for his human and social development project as it relates to admin assistant. I need to ask about Mr. Dwight Sibley's and Clarendon Northern's admin assistants. Oh, it's through the SDC. Yeah. Oh, that's fine. $1.5 million for Clarendon North, Manchester South. For Robert Chin, $1.5 million. Yes, 1.5 Sibley's, and you had Minister McKenzie 1.5, and then Robert Chin 1.5 for Manchester South, and then Dave Brown for Hanover Eastern 1.5, and Marlene Malahoo Fort 1.5 for St. James West Central, George Hamilton, that's what Anthony, oh, name George Anthony Hamilton. Hilton. His name George Hilton? Oh, Anthony Hilton is George Hilton? Okay. George. 1.5 for St. Andrew Western for Anthony Hilton. Honorable Franklin Witter, St. Elizabeth Southeastern. I don't normally see George anywhere. And then, last but not least, Mr. Audley Shaw. Yes, all of them 1.5. Dave Brown, and then Witter, and last but not least, Audley Shaw 1.5 for Manchester North. And ends the admin assistant. Projects for Culture, Ms. Nita Garvey from St. Catherine North Central for $1,580,000. It is North Central Emancifest. 580. 1,580. And Tova Hamilton for revitalization of communities through cultural projects, 1,299,750. This is being spent through the Jamaica Cultural Development Commission, JCDC, and Nita Garvey's own is through the SDC. Welfare and Emergency. First up, Mr. Heroy Clark from St. James Central. The amount is $1 million being spent through the SDC for his human and social development project in respect of welfare. Dave Brown, $1.5 million through the SDC for Hanover Eastern. Hugh Graham through the SDC as well, $2 million for his welfare project, St. Catherine Northwest. Honorable Mercer Dalrymple Philibert, $2 million through the SDC. Honorable Edmund Bartlett, St. James East Central, $1 million through the SDC. Mr. Morlon Wilson, Westmoreland Western, $2 million through the SDC. Mr. Delroy Slowly, St. Elizabeth Eastern, Northeastern, St. Elizabeth Northeastern, $2 million, and he's spending through the St. Elizabeth Municipal Corporation. Tell me when you're ready. Honorable Xavier Main, St. Anne Southwest, $1 million, and that is being spent through the SDC. Juliet Cuthbert Finn, St. Andrew West Rural, $2 million through the SDC. Juliet Holness, $2 million through the SDC. Dwight Siblis, $2 million through the SDC. Carl Samuda, $2 million through the SDC for St. Anne South Central. You're not writing the names of these constituencies down. When them come back, I can double check them as well. Honorable Floyd Green, St. Elizabeth Southwest, $1.5 million through the St. Elizabeth Municipal Corporation. Crystal Lee, $2 million through the SDC for St. Anne North West. SDC? Yes, SDC. Honorable Dr. Chang, St. James Northwest, $1 million through the SDC. Tova Hamilton, $1 million through the SDC. Marlene Malahoo Fort, $2 million through the SDC. St. James West Central. Honorable Dr. Dunn, $1 million through the SDC. Honorable Christopher Tufton, $2 million through the SDC. Honorable Olivia Grange, $2 million through the SDC. Dr. Angela Brownberg, $500,000 through the SDC. And J.C. Hutchinson, $1 million through the St. Elizabeth Municipal Corporation. This is the final set. First project is Monsieur Donovan Williams for Kingston Central. What? Do you have anything else hidden under the desk, Madam Director? I'm not sure. This is like general letters, probably amendments and stuff. Sign here. Yeah, usually it's used for persons who require amendments, and they've sent them back for most of them when you read them, they're for variations. Procurement, yeah. Right, so let me do these first, and then I'll go to the projects that are attached with letters for variation. Wow, this is a lot. We have more. We have social housing, economic enablement, and sports. We're just getting started. Wow. Yeah, my finger with my damage. Mr. Michael Phillips, all of these will be economic enablement projects. So, Michael Phillips, $2 million being spent through RADA, Rural Agricultural Development Authority, for his project. Honorable Franklin Whittle, $3 million, also through RADA for economic enablement. Honorable Marissa Dalrymple Philibert, $3 million through RADA. I didn't see it at all. It must be attached to something else. One additional project for welfare for $1.5 million. Lisa Hanna through SDC. I didn't, it wasn't in the pile. It's just coming here. All right, so we're back to economic. Luton Cousins, $2 million through the SDC. Delroy Slowly, $1 million through the SDC. Carl Samudo, St. Andrew North, Central, $2 million through the SDC. Honorable Juliet Cuthbert Flynn, $2 million through the SDC. Dwight Sibley's, $3 million through the SDC. Juliet Holness, $3 million through the SDC. Marlon Wilson, $2 million through the SDC. George Wright, $2.5 million through the SDC. Daniel Lawrence, $2 million through the SDC. Leroy Clark, $1.5 million through the SDC. Hugh Graham, $3 million through the SDC. Xavier Main, $2 million through the SDC. Dave Brown, $1.5 million through the SDC. Angela Brownberg, $500,000 through the SDC. Honorable Norman Dunn, $500,000 through the SDC. Carencia Morrison, $1.5 million through the SDC. Honorable Olivia Grange, $1.5 million through the SDC. Crystal Lee, $1.5 million through the SDC. Anthony Hilton, $751,900 through the SDC. Dr. Christopher Tufton, Honorable Christopher Tufton, $1 million through the SDC. We're going to now move on to social housing projects. Dr. Michelle Charles, $1 million being spent through the SDC. Honorable Julia Cuthbert Finn, $2 million through the SDC. Mr. Hugh Graham, $2 million through the SDC. Honorable Xavier Main, $1 million through the SDC. Heroy Clarks, $1 million through the SDC. Floyd Green, $1.5 million through the St. Elizabeth Parish Council. Delroy Slowly, $1 million through the St. Elizabeth Parish Council. Robert Miller, $2 million through the SDC. Juliet Holness, $2 million through the SDC. Daniel Lawrence, $1 million through the SDC. Honorable Ed Bartlett, $1 million through the SDC. Dwight Sibley's, Clarendon Municipal Corporation, $1.5 million. Toba Hamilton, $1.3 million through the SDC. $1.3 million. Dr. Honorable Christopher Tufton, $500,000 through the SDC. Dr. the Honorable Horace Chang, $500,000 through the SDC, $500,000. Honorable Olivia Grange, $1.5 million through the SDC. Crystal Lee, $2 million through the SDC. On Dr. the Honorable Norman Dunn, $1 million through the SDC. And Lisa Hanna, $1.5 million through the SDC. We move on to sports. Honorable Xavier Mains, $1 million for spend for this human and social development project for sports. It's being executed through the SDC. George Wright, $1 million through the SDC for sports. Morlon Wilson, $1,890,000 is his spend on sports through the SDC. Honorable Floyd Green, $1.5 million through the St. Elizabeth Parish Council. Dave Brown, $1.5 million through the SDC. Honorable Carl Samudo, $1 million through the SDC. Dwight Sibley's, $1 million through the SDC. Juliet Holness, $1 million through the SDC. Hugh Graham, $2 million through the SDC. Heroy Clark, $1.5 million through the SDC. Daniel Lawrence, $1.5 million through the SDC. Honorable Marissa Dalrymple Philibert, $1 million through the SDC. Tova Hamilton, $2 million. $150,000 through the SDC. Honorable Dr. Tufton, $2 million through the SDC. Honorable J.C. Hutchinson, $2 million through the St. Elizabeth Municipal Corporation. Crystal Lee, $2 million through the SDC. Mrs. Nita Garvey, $2 million through the SDC. Lester Mike Henry, 2 million through SDC. Honorable Darrell Vaz, 2,585,100 through the SDC. And Tova Hamilton, $1,150,250 through the SDC for physical infrastructure in respect of the sports complex, of the physical infrastructure beside that through the SDC. This project is a physical infrastructure project. The amount is $196,210 through the National Works Agency. Project was previously approved. It's a physical infrastructure project for the construction of a wall in central Kingston. It is phase 2 of that construction. Okay, so the total cost of the project saw only a partial approval of $662,417.60 before, and this additional amount is required to complete the entirety of the project. Next project. Okay, so this we discussed earlier, the duplication of a project for Mr. Orlando Terrelong. Its withdrawal from the minutes of the meeting and to remove item number 21. So done. Letter C. This project is from the Member of Parliament, Dr. Andrew Wheatley, seeking approval from CDF to change the implementing agency for his project from St. Catherine Municipal Corporation to the SDC. This project is in respect of $3 million for economic, general welfare and economic support. This was from July of last year. Okay.
If you want to do a medical for back to school and you want to get 5 or so doctors and you want to give them a stipend or so, that can be taken from our education funds?
No, man, you would get a donation. So here is an appreciation of what CDF is for. CDF is primarily to be used, when you think about it, for stuff that develop the constituency long term. Really, that was the original intention. It's really for development. It is something for development that is tangible, that we can go back and find it, hopefully, that the individual can document that they got that benefit and that it cannot be argued. No. So you try find somebody to donate the money to pay the doctors. It is not permitted. So just think of it generally and you'll get a good feel as to the things that you would want to do. You want to capitalize it? We'll do you can do the medical fare, you know, but the fees to pay the doctor wouldn't be in there. You can do a donation to the school for the fencing, for even the printer, computer, but not the cake for the celebration of the printer. You understand?
The other question, Chair, I noticed quite a number of my projects go to the SDC as the implementing agency. I do realize that SDC, very often I get requests from them when there are sporting events in the constituency asking for me to sponsor. I have in many instances, but I'm just trying to figure out if the SDC doesn't get funding for these things. And
so the SDC does get funding. I really do not believe it is enough. However, what we get is definitely not enough to assist in the way that we would want to. So we are in the same problem. They have asked for support with sports, and if we're doing sometimes even medical camp, they will help. We do get help from them, so it's a sort of symbiotic relationship where they will use parts of their budget to assist in different community projects, and where we are able to, we can help them just the same. Again, one of the things that we have to do, and I know it's hard for some MPs, is to just tap into those private sector persons that could sponsor things. If we're doing an event jointly with the SDC to cover food and drinks and some of the things, and transportation, so their money can go to something else, so our money can go to something else. Wherever you're able to get donations, it means government resources stretch a little further. All right, so this take care of this project for Mr. Wheatley. These are very strange projects. What date these? All right, so this variation now is from St. Catherine Southwest from the Honorable Everald Warmington. He would like to reallocate $1,450,000 He's reallocating it from education to welfare and emergency. Well, I'm happy that we got additional funds for education last year, which meant that, I've been lobbying. Yes. It would be wonderful if we got more this year. One of the things, as much as I do not support the call to pressure for additional CDF, there's a reason. I don't want constituents to believe that our primary role is being the distributor of government resources. The idea is that the ministries, agencies, and departments supposed to actually carry out this role. We are actually being allowed an emergency response through CDF, and that's what the idea was. However, with inflation eating out and the number of calls continuing to be great, we will still have to advocate. So I'm sure everybody appreciated getting the additional help for education last year, and it would be good if we get it again this year. It would be good, I can't promise it. As soon as they appoint me Minister of Finance, I would be able to answer that question. Next one is Manchester Northwest. This reallocation is for $684,618. It is for Manchester Northwest George Reed Community Entrance Wall Phase 2. It was implemented by the National Works Agency. Let me look and see if the variation is additional cost or just more being required. Okay. Okay, so the amount mentioned, the $684,000, was initially sent to the Manchester Municipal Corporation. It went back to the CDF. With that funds, more is being taken from the CDF and added together to total $1,250,477.55. This new total of the 1.2 million is now being used for the physical infrastructure project of doing phase 2 of this wall. And that's for Mr. Michael Phillips, Northwest Manchester. The project is being implemented through the National Works Agency. So we will meet again, members, next Tuesday before Parliament. Same way, a quick meeting at 1 o'clock. Yes, or 12:30, 12:30 possible. We're trying for 12:30 next week, just before, yes. What we have really made an effort to do, and this has been a beautiful suggestion, you realize that over time, you come up with ingenious ways of making things far more efficient. So this approach of having CDF before Parliament has been such a good and efficient step, particularly for our members of Parliament who come in from out of town. So next Tuesday, again, we would want to meet because we are trying to approve all the projects. And the challenge that is being had is that members of Parliament would have completed their projects, but they are waiting on the implementing agencies to complete their assessment and BQs so that it can be put in. And I do believe that we're going to have to talk with some of the implementing agencies, the Parish Council, NAA, because I remember doing a housing project and doing a lot of work to design and do the BQ out of my CDF, yes. Very challenging, but I am looking forward to being able to build houses out of my CDF. And the KSAC took a whole year to complete that BQ. So I am going to, 1 year. Basically, they completed it when we were now going to lose the money. When I said, look, if you don't approve it, the money is going back to the CDF. And it was finally given some attention, reviewed and approved. So we really have to beg the implementing agencies. It's a lot of work for MPs. And where you're having a challenge, please, the CDF would know I am also asking that we communicate it when we come to a meeting. If we have projects director that is sitting, director, your mic 1, and 2, if you have projects that are sitting in your estimation for an extended period of time, please let me know as well, so that I can join my voice to yours in talking to the agencies about the timeliness of signing off and having projects come back so that the constituents can benefit from the CDF allocation of the members of parliament.
And Chair, the other thing that I'd want you to focus on too, sometimes even after the allocations are sent to the agency and we send our individual letters and whatever else supporting documents, the turnaround time for those checks to go to the suppliers, sometimes it runs into 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 5 weeks. I've had those instances.
Well, I will caution to say that as it relates to the payment for suppliers, I try not to get involved. And I will explain to you why afterwards. So members of parliament, my encouragement to you is your work stops right after the work is taken on by the agency, and the suppliers better go and fight with the agency as it relates to payments. Members of parliament should make every effort never to call and follow up payments for any contractor. Let them fight that battle themselves. And I will explain further. Are there any other matters, Director?
Yes, Chair. I want an update on the proposed meeting with the Minister of Agriculture. Now that we have a new minister, I was wondering if this meeting would come to fruition sooner than later. And going back to the minutes, I see that Honorable Orlando Terrelong has KC on his name. Is he a King's Counsel? Is he?
I'm not aware of it. He would have to advise me. I've not been so advised, nor have I seen it in the public. I may have missed it. So it is not impossible. However, I am not aware.
Also,
we have another lawyer seated here or two. Orlando Terrelong is now KC? Not that you're aware of. Okay, so we will check and we will revert. Until then, I would remove it.
Okay. The last thing I want to make a note on in the minutes, I should have said it before, but I was otherwise preoccupied. It's not human resources, it's human and social development.
Human and social development.
Under the project categories.
I will have a discussion as it relates to RADA with the new minister. However, I've already had a discussion with the acting CEO, Mr. Simpson, in respect of the concerns that we have in getting the projects out of RADA. And he has committed to looking at the issues we're having and to pre-prepare a report in terms of how they plan to respond. So the meeting would not be just one of us informing them. They know the challenges. It must be one of telling us the way forward. Right. So it would be a meeting that would be ultimate and not a penultimate meeting.
And the final thing, have you heard any word from the Minister of Finance as it relates to administrative assistance? Whilst I'm in agreement that there needs to be some revision of salaries, also there needs to be a revision as it relates to criteria, some base criteria for these persons. I just want to put it on record. I don't support a revision without a criteria being set, base criteria for these persons. Because the CDF PMU encounter challenges when persons does not have or do not have the requisite skills to report into the unit.
I spoke again to the Minister of Finance. I believe we may have to take an approach to right. The reason is CDF would have been constructed out of a place of emergency without a structure in place for the heads required the different numbers of persons required in the department, the qualification, the details of the responsibilities. So it is an emergency arrangement that has not been fully structured up to today, and it has existed for too long for us not to appreciate that we have to structure, because we are dealing with people. We are dealing with a service to the people of Jamaica through the Constituency Development Fund and these CDF officers who support that process. So, having spoken to the minister for the second time, I do believe it is now time to write, because I have always had the concerns of persons operating in this space. They do not have the benefit of pension, of insurance, of tenure, nothing. And it cannot be allowed to continue, especially now that we are looking at government holistically and making every effort to restructure each ministry, agency, and department so that we are considerate of even persons who are on contract, trying to regularize all of government in terms of employees. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. You know, my piece to that, Madam Chairman, whilst we are now paying them a stipend from the CDF funding, I am at this point lobbying for the fact that we ask government to pay them directly as an employee, because $1.5 million thereabout is woefully lacking, and we must, once upon a time we thought that it would be a part-time job. It's not a part-time job, madam. It is a full-time job, and so we must be cognizant of the fact, because one of the things that may end up happening, not now, maybe early, later down the road, is that we just can't find anybody reasonable, because now we are asking that you must be qualified, you must be qualified. And if you're going to employ somebody... Are
you speaking about the admin assistant for CDF? I just want to make sure it's very clear. So the admin assistant for CDF is a person that is hired, that stands in the gap to assist the Member of Parliament with executing the CDF projects. And Member Clark, that was also discussed with Minister, to one, make an effort to increase the amount from 1.5 to a minimum of $2 million, and to take it out of our CDF arrangement for more reason than one. Because currently, the person is employed, even if they're here long term, and a Member of Parliament has been here repetitively for 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 terms. That admin assistant every year would be employed for 1 year only, usually for a period of 11 months is the contract, and they're paid for that 12-month period over 11 months. And it is just not working out for the individuals. So the minister has been asked to look at our admin assistant, the amount, remove them from our CDF, and set up something, probably at the SDC, in the same way that they are on a payroll and paid through the SDC, and it is seamless. And we do not have to get involved as members of Parliament. And it allows persons who are here. Member Robinson made the point that he may have an admin assistant that is repeated year after year. That person would have had the ability to get pension after 5 years. Right now, they get nothing, because their contract is renewed annually. And he's quite correct. So we have advocated Member Clark for exactly that, both for the admin assistant who helps for CDF and for the CDF officer who operates from the CDF department. And we are going to know right in a very solid way, because especially with due consideration being given to all of government and its employees, the structure that we have for our civil servants, we would love to have the CDF officers resolved and have our admin assistants added to the cadre of public sector workers.
Madam, also, you know, what we must look at also, there is each financial year, there's a break for those persons. And so there, you did that. All right. All right. Thank you,
That's a
madam.
big part of why. So we had discussed it at the last meeting, Member Clark, and those are the issues that we have brought forward. And so it has been discussed with Minister, and it is really now time for him to give us a response. If he's at Parliament today, I'll speak with him again today, and after which I will explain that we will have no choice but to write, because we genuinely need an urgent response. I am sure every single officer sitting down at the CDF right now is wondering what is happening as it relates to them, and I'm sure that there are still other persons who he still needs to resolve things for. If there are no other items, would someone move for the adjournment of today's meeting? So moved by Member Crawford, seconded by Member Clark. So remember, everyone, next Tuesday, you'll get the email, but put it in your diary, next Tuesday at 12:30 to be here promptly so that we can get all the projects out and all members of Parliament will be better equipped to serve their constituents for the next financial year.
Jamaica, home of the resilient, passionate and hard-working. A people and a nation who have achieved and defied all odds, working to keep their economy growing, their country thriving, from investments made in innovative opportunities and exports demanded globally. We have a vision, now within our grasp, where Jamaica becomes the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business. We will not let go of this vision. We will grow. We will overcome these challenging times and look to the future with hope and positivity. These are special times. The world as we know it has changed, but home will always be in our hearts. And in Jamaica, you can always find a home. Think you know Jamaica? Look again. You will be surprised.
It's Wednesday, June 7. In the headlines, Information Minister responds to Integrity Commission's statement. In business news, MSMEs contribute billions yearly in tax revenues. Regionally, visa-free travel to Canada for Trinidad and Tobago nationals. Internationally, World Bank cuts 2024 global growth forecast as rate hikes. And in sports, CONCACAF expands and rebrands Champions League. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Minister without portfolio with responsibility for information, Robert Morgan, gave a response to an Integrity Commission press release dated June 6, 2023. He was speaking at Wednesday's post-cabinet press brief.
The